What is up, guys? Supermoto here. So what do I have for you guys today? Well, guys, I finally pulled the trigger on some Supermoto wheels, man. I'm gonna convert my bike and I'm gonna do it the cleanest way possible. So I see all these videos of people getting these wheels, and I see a lot of Frankenstein DRZ 400s out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I wanted to do was, I took it slow, and this took me months to acquire. Let me give you the quick story on how I got my wheels. Craigslist, man. Just being resourceful. So I found a guy on Craigslist who was selling a DRZ 400 just like mine, but it was the SM model. And it's kind of hard to find Supermoto wheel sets on Craigslist, and just finding used ones that are clean, that aren't beat, that are for a good price. You know, some people post them for like $1,100 on eBay, and it's like, you might as well buy the kit. For those of you who know, a kit like a Warp 9 wheel set is like $1,200 and change. I found this guy, super cool dude in Whittier, and he said, hey, I actually said, I hit him up and I said, hey, look, I know you're selling your bike, but I saw you have an extra wheel. And he had an extra wheel because he bought a Warp 9 wheel just for the rear end, because he wanted to offset color. Not my cup of tea, but whatever. I hit him up, I said, hey man, really interested in your rear wheel. And I was like, can I just buy that straight from you? Can you just piece that off? And he's like, oh yeah, man, that's fine. So I was like, sweet. So I went to Whittier and we were talking for a little bit. Really cool guy. I got this rear wheel. It's an RKXL wheel. So the RKXL wheel is the standard one that comes in the SM model, the DRZ. Great wheel, can't really go wrong. XL wheels are, pretty high in demand, and people give them a lot of praise. So I had the rear wheel. I was like, cool. So what do I do from here? I looked so long, guys. I looked for days, months. I looked for probably 2 months, just looking for a front wheel. And it's not that I couldn't find anything. It was just that nothing was exactly for the price I wanted, and it just wasn't exactly what I wanted. Like, people would take off the brake rotor. They would just strip these wheels, and they'd be like, oh yeah, like $450. And I'm like, come on, really? $450? Like, I guess. So, I looked online, I looked at Warp 9, and for those of you who don't know, Warp 9 makes wheel sets for these bikes. They're all made to order, and they're probably the most common Supermoto wheel set you can get for these bikes, where people get like the whole conversion kit. It's around $1,200. There's a bunch of different places where you can buy the kit. So my determination to not pay $465 for just the front wheel, that wouldn't be bad at the end of the day. I mean, if I still paid around half of what the conversion kit is, hey, more power to me, right? So, but I still didn't want to take that big of a hit. So I was looking, found this guy in Santa Monica, California, and he had a wheel set. He had the Supermoto wheel set, the Warp 9 ones. And I don't think this guy knew what he had, or he just really didn't care, because I hit him up. He was like, I saw his ad on OfferUp, actually, not even Craigslist. And it was like posted 19 days ago. I was like, it was one photo and they're dusty. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is gonna be worth it or not. What happened was, I messaged him, waited about 2 days, and he hit me back. And I was like, whew, still has them, cool. So I was like, dude, when can I get these? And eventually I went up there with my brother, and we picked up the wheels. $200, guys, for a wheel set. $200. So I paid $400 to get 3 wheels, man. That's ridiculous. And I bought both because I was like, dude, I could sell that rear wheel and make some money back, right? That's what it's all about. So I posted that rear wheel, and I was like, hey, Supermoto wheel, $350. This guy hit me up in Fresno named Craig. Really great guy, really nice dude. He ended up, we were negotiating on how to meet up, all this stuff. I eventually told him, I was like, hey dude, I'm just really on a time budget. I don't have a lot of time on my hands. It's honestly not even about money. Can you just drive with me and I'll discount the price? So he drives 4.5 hours down from Fresno. He picks up the rear wheel for me for $300. So guys, I paid $400. He bought the extra wheel for $300. I paid $100 to get these wheels. That is the best feeling ever, because I just dodged $1,200 and change of getting new wheels that would do the job exactly the same and be an all-in-one kit, but I paid like a 1/12 of that, dude. Like, that is so awesome. That's what I mean when it's like, when I say, you know, in certain videos I say be resourceful, it pays off, man. Those months of waiting, it pays off. Because yeah, I could have thrown it on my credit card, paid it off slowly, but it's like, what's wrong with these wheels? You can't find anything wrong with these wheels. Let's be real. So, anyways guys, I got the wheels, I'm stoked. What else goes with the Supermoto kit? Well, probably saw this in the corner of your eye, but we have the Supermoto front fender. What is the Supermoto front fender? Well, it's just a more aggressive, shortened up fender. Some people like to cut their fender. I don't really like that. I want something that's just made for it. And Acerbis, however you pronounce it, company makes really great plastics, and this is actually in the OEM spec RM yellow. So this is gonna match my bike exactly and gives just a really aggressive look to it. I love it. It's shorter. You know, the one on my bike right now, this thing's a shovel, man. And you know, it doesn't look that bad. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, bash it a little bit too much, but dude, 25 bucks, you can't go wrong. Trail Tech Vapor. So, why did I get a Trail Tech Vapor? Well, what happens when you convert a DRZ400S model to an SM is that the speedometer drive does not work on the S to the SM model. Well, to the SM conversion, I will say. Why doesn't it work? Well, they do have adapters and whatnot to make it work, but I've talked to guys who've bought the actual kits that come with everything all included, and they say, oh, your speedometer will still work. And he tells me, he's like, yeah, I mean, my odometer works, but my speedometer is like 40 miles per hour off sometimes. And I was like, I mean, that's kind of jank for me, you know. Like, if I'm gonna do this to my bike, I want something that's gonna be reliable with telling me my speed. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I just gauge it off the freeway. Right? Guys, it's just peace of mind. I'm just anal about it. It is what it is. So, I bought the Trail Tech Vapor. It's cool too because it has a tachometer. It tells you how hot your bike's running, and we'll have a full installation video for this because I don't know if I can finish this in one day, just because it takes very long to film these videos and also work on my bike at the same time. But I'm really stoked to get this on. I think this will be great. To complement that, there's also a metal bracket that you could buy on Amazon. This is because the Trail Tech Vapors, from what I've read, they come with a plastic mounting bracket that just is kind of not useless, but like it barely does the job from what I hear from people. I heard this, well, I've seen this too in videos. This looks great with it, so I bought it. It was 12 bucks. So 125, 12 bucks, $25. And then the only thing I needed with my wheel set was a caliper relocation bracket. Now, what this does is that your front caliper is fixed in a certain position to fit your brake rotor right now. Well, when you go from a DRZ400S to an SM model, usually the SM model, almost always essentially, you're gonna have this huge brake rotor. So when you have that huge brake rotor, you know, it's kind of logical to think, okay, well, if this is a fixed caliper, how is that gonna work? Well, this is where the relocation bracket comes in. It shoots out your caliper a little bit more, so it fits right in that. For some reason, these are so expensive, but this was $75. I got this from Toxic Moto Racing. Yeah, so this is from Warpman, the company itself. I wanted to buy their brand because I do have a Warpman front wheel. And then you might be asking, okay, well, how'd you pinstripe your wheel? A lot of people know it's a pretty simple, just vinyl tape that goes around it. I found a local shop on eBay. They're out in Orange, which is about 10 minutes away from me, and they're selling vinyl tape, you know, reflective tape to go around your wheel for, I think it was $8.36. So I was like, hey, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, they're local, you know, it's not shipping in from some cargo ship in China. I was like, what do I have to lose? It's $8. And I put it on, and when I put it on, I was like, these actually look really good. It turned out really good in my opinion. I think it really pops. These are all the parts, guys. I'm gonna be very thorough about everything I'm gonna do to this bike, how I'm gonna make it work. We are gonna run into some BS, I know it. It's not because I don't have the right components, but because say, okay, this is what I need on paper, and this is how it's gonna go according to plan. Well, guess what? Whenever you're working on your bike or truck, you know it doesn't go according to plan. So if you guys are stoked for this video, man, excited to see these wheels on the bike, see how an S goes to an SM model, and how you can make your bike a Supermoto, please give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. This is probably one of the biggest videos I've ever made. This is going to be a 3 to 4, maybe even a 5-part video series, just based off of what I want to do tutorials on. So let's get started, guys.
Alright, so throwback to removing the rear wheel. So we're going to take off this pin right here that's on the crown nut, take our 25mm socket with a breaker bar, and take that thing off so then we can release the axle from the rear end. Use a hammer lightly to tap the other end of the axle. This will help pull it out on the other side and will make it a much smoother process. Once we remove the axle, then we can start slipping the chain off the sprocket. You'll notice that I'm going to take off the chain guards right here. The reason to this is that it's going to give me more space and wiggle room to take out the rear wheel with ease. Once you grab your rear wheel, make sure to just inspect the spacers on each side to make sure that the grease on it isn't too dirty and mucked up. So the best way to get this huge rear wheel onto this bike is that you're going to have to take off the chain guard and eventually take off the caliper too, because it makes it a much smoother process to slide in the wheel with nothing blocking its way. Now we could easily move in our rear wheel without anything obstructing its path to lift it up and get the axle through it in the middle.
Alright guys, so one thing to note, the rear brake rotor is actually a different size from this one. I don't know why I didn't think about that. This one's obviously bigger now looking at them side by side. This one, it will not fit your rear caliper the right way. Meaning, so the way the caliper is fitted in is it slides in and then it has this hole at the end that the axle goes through along with the spacer. So the spacer's touching that. The spacer will fit with it, but since this is bigger, it'll get pushed up into the caliper so much that it'll be touching the roof of it and you won't be able to get the axle through. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. You know, it's a frustrating process, guys, but I love it. So let's keep this going.
Alright, so now that we've swapped the brake rotors, we can now slip the axle through and get the bike fitted into the caliper. Snug this down with your breaker bar and make sure that it's tightened down to a really snug fit. Moving on to the front wheel, we're going to have 4 12mm bolts and 1 25mm nut to take off to slip out the front axle. So it's usually best to unscrew this thing when it's on the floor, just because you won't get any traction when it's up in the air. I already did that, so let's move into taking off this nut with the 25mm socket, and then we'll eventually work our way to the 12mm bolts on top of the axle. Once you have those removed, the easiest way to take out the axle in the front is to get maybe a ratchet or something that could fit within the hole and lightly tap it out without causing any damage to the other side of the axle. Once we slip out that axle, we can then move into taking off the front wheel and lightly pulling that out, and then we run into our second issue.
So for those of you who are wondering why I changed, I didn't change. It's actually been a couple days now, and what happened was I had to stop building my bike. I know I had to cry over it a little bit because my front wheel actually doesn't fit my bike. Let me elaborate a little bit. So this wheel right here, this one has the certain Warp 9 hub that doesn't actually go with the speedometer hub or the speedometer spacer, and it does not go with the original spacer on this. So what I did was, in the heat of the moment, after swearing and cursing up a storm because getting that front wheel on that bike was such a pain, I called Warp 9 and I said, hey guys, so I think I talked to this guy named, his name was Craig or something, I don't know. I think everyone's name is Craig. Anyways, I talked to this guy and I said, hey, so I have your guys' Warp 9 wheel. How do I resolve this issue? He said, oh, do you mind sending some pics? You know, pics, or it didn't happen. And so I hit him with some pictures and he said, okay, well, you actually have the hub. You have the right wheel for your bike. But he said, the thing is that you have the wrong hub that doesn't adapt to the speedometer that originally comes with my bike and the spacer on the other end. So that's why my wheel, I noticed that when I put it on, it wouldn't move. And I was like, shoot, I feel like I thought the brake rotor was actually just too big or something. So I'm gonna call Warp 9 right now because I did a phone order through that guy, and he said he would send the spacers to me. I think it was like $20, not a big deal. I just need to call though, because I need to make sure that the bracket I got for the caliper relocator is the right one. He said it was, but I noticed that the bolts didn't really work out with the placement. And what I mean by that was that when I put it on as to what seemed to be the right positioning for the bracket relocator, he said that's the right part, that's the right number, but for some reason the bolts don't really line up and it wasn't a snug fit. I don't like that. So let me call Warp 9 and let's see if we can get some answers. I'm gonna call him too and just ask about my order, since it was a phone order. He didn't take down my email, and I just wanna make sure my parts are on the way. It's Warp 9's number.
Warp 9, this is Kevin.
Hi Kevin, I placed an order on the phone for some wheel spacers with you guys, and I just wanted to make sure that that went through. I did this last Friday right before you guys closed.
Okay, what's your zip code, man? Okay, yeah, I helped you out. Oh, yeah, I remember this. Oh, Christian, I didn't know this, man. I apologize. They had to machine them.
Uh-huh.
They got them done. They're actually shipping out today. So.
Okay.
God, yeah, I apologize, man. I didn't know that when we did the order. We were out. But,
yeah, no worries.
Fresh machine one's going out today, so you should probably get... Oh, I don't have your email. Do you want me to send the tracking to you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, you got it, sir. So you should see tracking on that later this evening.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And then really quick, I meant to ask, when I get those spacers, I meant to ask, so you said that I had the right relocator bracket. When I was putting it on, I noticed that there's something weird with the bolts. Like, I don't know if I was using the wrong bolts for the wrong part, but it did come with a pair of bolts in it and some thread locker. When I was putting it on, I didn't know whether or not to use the OEM bolts that are on my bike already, to use that for the spacer part to put. It's kind of hard. It's kind of a mouthful. When I put on the relocator to shoot out my brake caliper more, I don't know, something didn't really line up, or it didn't snug down tight, and I didn't really know exactly how to go about that.
Yeah, it should come with two bolts that are Allen head bolts.
Uh-huh.
So the bracket's going to space out the caliper. You'll use your OEM bolts on the fork side of it, and then the other bolts for the caliper side of it.
Okay. So the OEM bolts are going to go on the fork side, correct? You said?
Correct.
The black Allen head bolts that came with it, they're going to go into the caliper on the relocator bracket.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, and then to snug down, because let me go look at it. There's a threaded part for your guys' bracket, and then there's a non-threaded part. So the threaded part is going to be for the OEM bolts, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The other one thing that you are going to run into that you probably haven't yet, because you haven't mounted the caliper into the wheel, is on the DRZ 400. It has a really big caliper.
Uh-huh.
And if you have the 320 rotor on it, which I think you did,
Yeah.
The caliper won't fit between the rim and the rotor. So what you have to do is push the pistons apart on the caliper, pull your brake pads out slide it over the rotor in between the rim, and then you can put the brake pads up while it's resting on top of the rotor.
Okay. It was like Mission Impossible. What I did was I put in some Allen keys inside the brake pad to push it out more, and then I would just keep putting a little bit bigger one each time, and I spaced it out enough to get it on the first time. But yeah, it was definitely a pain.
Yeah. It's gonna I know it's a massive caliper. You know, it's got a lot of material to it, so it's kind of an interesting one. But yeah, okay, cool. Sounds like you know what you're doing that.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate all the help. I mean, everything according to plan never goes according to plan when you start working on a bike, so I'll definitely give you guys a call when I get those parts, okay?
Cool, sounds good.
All right, thank you for the update. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thanks, Chris. See
All
you
right,
later.
bye now. Not a bad guy.
All right, so we heard it straight from Kevin from Warp 9 Wheels. Great guy, is really nice. He said that my spacers are actually getting milled out today, and they shipped it out, so cool. He did say they would show up today, so I'm not gonna give him crap though, because they had to make that order and they actually don't have it on the website. So they made that to order, they shipped it out today. I can't build the bike tonight, which I thought I was gonna. Another night of tears, so we're gonna have an update once I get those parts and keep going with the Supermoto build series. I want to get this bike done ASAP. I want to get the wheels on. That is like the biggest struggle right now. I didn't think getting the front wheel on would be this much of a struggle, but it is. So, I mean, this is how every project goes, guys. There's no getting around it. It's just a learning process. So have me do it for you and watch the process if you guys do have a DRZ or another bike that you're trying to convert. It's a lengthy process. It is what it is, but this is gonna conclude episode 1 of the Supermoto build series. I want to conclude it here just because, just so you guys know exactly what's going on with the bike. I don't want to do a video where, you know, I show it with the dirt wheels on and then magically out of nowhere you see it with the Supermoto wheels. I want to show you the nitty gritty things that me as a guy, a regular guy, just has to do to, you know, get this bike up and moving. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. I definitely, you know, put in a lot of effort to make this happen. Obviously it's for you guys too, you know, it's not just for me, but yeah, if you guys like this video, if you like what I'm doing, please give me a like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.